Hey there, everyone. It's your girl Barbie J saying, my girls hold me down. Them boys mess around. My love life is a mess. We're going out tonight because I'm looking for love. Boy, I haven't sung that in a minute, have I, y'all? But anyway, we here with Tyler Perry's comedy drama, Sistas, Season 5, Episode 9, Pursuit for Truth. Who was giving up that truth? Let's see. Fatima was looking for the pursuit for truth about what went down with Jonah. You know, we're going to need the pursuit of truth about what happened, what's going on with Sabrina and them, and what's happening with, was that Deja warning, what's his name, Zach, about the truth about who Fatima is, and all the kind of stuff. So it was a good title. It hit upon all of them, to be honest, in one way or the other. So let's start off real quick. Starts with Danny. She's crying and telling Andy what happened with Jonah and what she did. And Fatima comes back with water because remember, Andy has sent her out with the water. She comes back with the water and Andy's asking her to stay. Even when Danny said, no, no, no. And Andy said, you know, she can help us. Then when Fatima heard that Jonah was on Danny hitting her and spitting her face, boy, you could see that she started getting pissed. You could see Fatima's face. And she said, it sounds like self-defense to me. And Danny agreed with Fatima. But Andy was saying, no, it's not. She said in her home, it was self-defense. But once she went outside and ran him over with her car, it's not. So now Andy asked Fatima to leave. And Danny said, nope, she stays. I want to hear what she got to say. That's what she was saying. So I was laughing. I said, oh, Lord, here we go. So Fatima asked Danny what street she lives on and then asked for Jonah's last name. Andy said that's a good idea, you know, that she's asking these questions. Fatima's like, well, you didn't hire me for nothing. And Andy had the nerve to say, I also didn't know that I was hiring a madam in training. I'm like, really? So why did you ask Fatima to stay in the room? Why did you tell her? You know, you told her that she could help us. So anyway, so she was checking. Fatima was checking for deaths on that block in the news. There was nothing. Then she called the hospitals when she found out that Jonah's last name was Scott to see if he was admitted. And she walks out and Andy's telling her, Fatima got it. You know, she has all types of contacts. I was like, madam in training. Thank you, Andy. Anyway, so Fatima learns that he's in the hospital with broken ribs, and he told them he's saying he fell off a motorcycle. That was his story he told. So Fatima got the info from her cousin, we found out, and Danny is like, oh, he's okay. And this is the part that I love. Because Danny said, Fatima said, not for long. If she says the word, if you say the word, Danny's like, oh, no. Fatima was like, He hit her and spit on her. And she said, Danny, I don't know you like that. But all you got to do is say the word and it's done. And Danny kept saying, word. And Andy was saying, no word. Trying to talk some sense into both of them. And Fatima's like, he spit in her face. And so Fatima's texting someone and Andy's trying to stop her saying, no, you know. And she's like, I got it. It's done, you know. Anyway, I was like, whoa. I said, watch this. Because Karen ain't going to be able to say nothing nasty about Fatima in front of Danny. Even though Danny was already like cool with her. But she going to have like kudo brownie points with her. So anyway, Andy makes Fatima go back into her office and forbids them from talking to each other. So Danny says that, you know, she likes her, and Andy said, don't get any ideas and we need to keep you legal. Then Andy starts talking to her saying, I know you're my best friend. I said, I thought that Karen was your best friend. Right? Am I wrong about that, y'all? So she knows she's hurting, she said, and she keeps hurting herself even more by doing these things, and she needs to stop. And she knows she's hurting about Preston and wants to hurt him before he hurts her. And she tells her to stop running. And with tears in her eyes, she's saying she doesn't want Danny to be like her. She tells Danny to call, you know, Preston. And so Danny says, you know, she got to go to work because she ain't trying to hear her. But before she leaves, you know, Danny says, you know, you're so prolific and profound or something like that. She said, but can I ask you something? And then all of a sudden, Andy don't want to talk about it. But then she said, well, you kind of opened the door for it. So she goes, what about Gary? And then Andy tells, you know, that Gary tried to sue her and then admits she's trying to keep him calm, as she calls it. And Danny said, oh, by effing him? And Andy said, yeah, that, but that's I wanted to do because he's so good at it. I said, Lord help her. So Andy explains that she's landing a big client, and she has and she didn't want, them to know she's being sued. So that's the reason she's doing the horizontal shuffle with Gary. I said, yeah, okay, Andy. Anyway, so Danny says, so you're playing him then? And she's like, no, not really. She said, no, you're playing him, So then she leaves, and Fatima, oh no, she don't leave yet. Fatima comes back into the room with Jonah's records that she pulled, and it shows that he has several assaults against women on his record. That's why he didn't report this to the police. And Fatima says, y'all, we need to put a stop to this before he does it again. And tells Danny to call her. And Danny says she will. And of course, Andy's like, no. And Danny said, I don't work for you, so you can't tell me what I can and cannot do. And Andy was like, well, you right. And so when Fatima leaves, Danny and Andy make plans to meet to go see Sabrina. Then Danny added that, she said, you need to keep Fatima. She's faster than your ass, Miss Attorney. I said, oh Lord. But Fatima was doing a thing. Those were things that Andy didn't even think about. It's funny. But next we have, no, it's not funny, it's disappointing. But then next we have Deja. She coming over to Zach to help him, and he's telling her to stay on her side of the property. And then she warned Zach about Madam, saying that biatch don't play. She is notorious. He said notorious. It's supposed to be notorious. And she said, notorious, you don't have to, she said, you don't have to worry about me ever pushing up on you again or sucking your ding. I said, oh Lord. She said, with your fine, sexy ass, because she said, I love my life. And he's like, I love your life too. I'm like, why did you say that, Zach? Why do you love her life too? That made no sense. So she told him she just wanted to warn him that the apple of his eye comes from a long line of killers and dealers. And he better meet his in-laws before you say, I do, y'all. He said, oh, you trying to rhyme now? So anyway, Zach is getting tired of hearing her, and he gets rid of her by pretending Madam is coming up behind her, asking, what does Madam look like? And she explained her down to the T. She's like, oh, she right there behind him, and she's going, you better run. And she running her house. I was like, okay, Zach, you so silly. Then we have Aaron arriving in Karen's apartment with ice cream, of course. We know that, and other groceries. She asked, did my mama call you? And he said, yes. And then Karen notices that Aaron came with a packed bag saying that he said, oh, I'm moving in. And Karen is like, what? And so he's here to serve her like a princess, he said. I said, oh, okay. Now wait, before I go on, I have to comment on Karen and Aaron's Foot Locker gear. Y'all can't tell me that both of them ain't had jobs at Foot Locker. Are they going to work or they leaving work, coming home from work? I mean, because them stripes, the blue and white stripes, that is screaming Foot Locker all the way. Y'all let me know down in the comment section. Am I bugging out or what? So she told him that what he did with his doctor friend, telling she was in the hospital, wasn't cool and not to do it again, and told him not to mention it to Pam, who was making her doctor's appointment. Then he tells her that her mom's called him about 5 times to make sure that he was there and wanting to know what's going on. She tells him that the girls are coming over to look after her and ask him to disappear for a bit. And, so they can have their girl time. Then she asks him if he wants to talk about last night. And he's like, well, do you want to talk about last night? But they don't. Then Karen tells Aaron about an article which states you can tell a lot about a man by going through his phone. And Aaron has no problem with it, providing Karen with his phone and the code. So she goes through it, and he asks, what she wants for dinner. And she finally says pasta, because she's so busy going through his phone, she ain't answering him, because he says chicken or steak, So he has to go out and get some pasta, and she tries to give him his cell phone back, and he told her to keep it and knock herself out. And she said, I will. Then when he closed the door, she said, Zach would have never let me do that. But on you, Karen, because Zach has already given Fatima the code to his cell phone and let Fatima go to it. Am I wrong, y'all? Y'all let me know down in the comment section. I believe Zach already let Fatima go through his phone. So, Karen, you slow on that one. Anyway, Danny's at work, and she calls Preston and asked to meet him in front of her house. And he told her how hard it was for him to not call her. And then he tells her he could be on a flight that day. And she said, okay. So then Q comes over and starts bothering Danny, and she said, she can't do this issue with him today, and asks him to step aside. And then as he does that, she sees Jonah staring at her. Then Q sees this as well and asks Danny about why he's staring at her like that. So she asks him to mind her business and stay out of it. And he goes over there, Q goes over there and steps to him and asks, can he help him? And then, he's like, I'm waiting on something or whatever. And I said, on something. Come to find out it's his son, it's someone. But he said, I'm waiting on something. And he tells him, Q lets him know, you see this ankle monitor? He says that he's looking for a reason to lose his job. So he's trying to get Jonah to look at him and give him his attention because he see him still staring at Danny. And he said, look, what's going on? And he did, I don't know what he did, but Jonah started looking at him. He said, look, my son is on this flight, and I'm coming in or something like that. I'm waiting for him. So he said, yeah, okay, cool. And he walks back over to Danny, and Danny's like, why did you do that? And he said he wanted to know. So he tells her that Jonah said his son is on the flight. Danny checks and sees he's right. So Q is upset that, he's legit because he wanted to bust his head open, he said. And Danny's like, you're so stupid. Why don't you just quit the job? And Q tells her that he wants to get fired. And if he quits, he'll get arrested. So she shoos him away again, and Jonah is back to staring at her and all pissed off. Then we got Andy. She's at work, and she calls Karen and tells her that she's looking through Aaron's phone right now. And she's been going through it for about an hour. And Andy asks, why is she doing that? And Karen said her and her mama feel something ain't right about him. And then she tells Andy that she hasn't found anything in his phone so far. Andy had the nerve to say her suspicions may have to do with all the years she spent with Zach. Never mentioned Zach. I don't know why she threw that out there. But then Karen agreed and then said, speaking of Zach, I said, bam, there it is. Did your friend tell you what happened last night? And Andy said, oh, that's my cue to get off the phone because she wanted to discuss it. But you brought up Zach and you should have known better. So then Karen asked if y'all coming over. And Andy's like, who's y'all? And she added that you, Danny, and Brina. And she said, Brina's not answering my calls. So Andy said, well, me and Danny will be there. And she asked, what's going on with Sabrina? And she said, oh, nothing. She said, okay, then put on three-way. Call her now. But Andy got off the phone quickly, talking about, oh, I got to go. Something's happening at the office. Then we have Andy and Fatima are leaving the office. And Fatima sees Heather sitting in the waiting room and asks, what is she doing there? And she replied that she is there to see her lawyer. Uh-oh. So now Heather said, so you saw the DNA results, right? And I'm sitting there going, hold up, y'all. Somebody tell me down in the comment section, how would Heather know that Fatima saw some DNA results if she slicked it off and made got that test done? How is that? How did that happen? So this is where it comes in with this Hayden thing. We need to find out how that happened because that was done on a down low. They didn't know. This is not making sense, TP. Not making sense. Help it make sense now. Now, then at that moment, Hayden comes out and greets her, and we learn that she can't even spell Hayden because he told her to have a seat in his office. His name is on the door. And she says, how do you spell Hayden? I was dying. She spelled it so many different ways, I know what to say. So when she walks away, Hayden tells Fatima how they got connected. And she tells him he's going to burn in hell. And he said, oh, I know. And I'm going to look good doing it. I said, oh, he evil. So your boy's getting sued, he said. Then Fatima added, you're not even a family attorney. He said, I'll be whatever attorney I need to be to make sure that nigga gets locked up. And that's what he said. So then we have Andy and Danny waiting to see Sabrina, who's in an orange jumpsuit, chained up, locks cut out, looking all busted. I said, damn, poor Sabrina. And when she comes in, Sabrina says she doesn't know why she's in there. She didn't do anything. And I'm not sure, but y'all let me know why Andy's hesitant with trying to tell her what went down. If you're supposed to be her lawyer, you're supposed to tell her what the freak is going on. So then Sabrina's like, do you know something, Andy? She said, tell me. She yelled at her, and Andy tells about Q. Supposedly has a recording of Maurice saying it was their idea to rob the bank. And Sabrina can't believe this is happening. Then she tells him not to tell her mom because she would die, And so Andy is saying, we're going to get you out of here. And Danny's saying it too. And Sabrina's like, how? And Sabrina said, the people in here, oh, then Sabrina said, the people in there are so mean and stuff. And it's like, well, Danny's like, it's jail, but then they're telling her, that her natural hair, she's mad because she didn't do anything and they cut her hair. And I don't blame her. I'd be pissed too. And they're like, but your natural hair is so beautiful. And she's like, I don't care. And they're trying to be positive that she's going, she's going to get out and stuff. And she tells Andy to ask her boss, Robin, who helped Zach and Fatima, can he help me? And Andy said, that she did ask her boss, and that is complicated because this case is federal and very different. So then DA John Lance come in. He came in and says, I was told you were in here. And Andy introduces herself and he says, I know your name. And she said, oh, he said, you don't recognize me? And tells them that Andy represented his wife in their divorce. I said, oh, Lord. Even Danny was like, oh, shit. So he asks, are you her lawyer? And Andy replies, one of them. And he wants to talk outside, but Sabrina wants to hear what's going on. But Andy steps out of the room with him and he proceeds to complain to her about his ex-wife, his ex-wife's new boyfriend, and his alimony payments that are so high. So then Andy said she was just doing her job, which she was, and I thought we were going to talk about Sabrina. He said, oh, your client and friend? She said, how do you know that? He said, Judge Ross told me. And I'm sitting there going, Judge Ross is getting even with them because of Madam. This has to do with Madam. She gave her the information, but then she said, make sure her behind don't get out. I said, oh, this is so messed up. So he said, how are you representing her being a divorce attorney? She says, well, there's other attorneys at her firm, at my firm or whatever. So she wants to discuss Sabrina getting bail. And he said, oh, she's not getting out. He says, Judge Ross called me and said, Sabrina is not getting out, and told her to take her friend. He told her to take her friend who's not a paralegal and leave before, talking about Danny, and leave before he has them both arrested for impersonating. So then he said, and he's asking for 30 years and said that Sabrina is staying in there for a very long time. And y'all, that's how it ended. I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is so terrible. Anyway, y'all let me know down in the comment section what y'all think about this episode. And for those of you who haven't subscribed to my channel, please take a moment right now, hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell and select all, and it'll let you know every time I upload a new video. Then I ask that you hit that thumbs up like button, write a comment now, and share the video. This your girl Barbie J saying peace and happy holidays.